There's Christmas, there's Thanksgiving, there's really, I guess 4th of July. These are all holidays that are very fun to celebrate. And one that doesn't get talked about enough is when you really start to gear up for the coming football season. And Logan, that's what we're gonna get to do tonight. We're gonna take a break from baseball, mostly because they haven't played and nothing's changed, and haven't even had pitchers announced yet. But reports are good, rumors are good, things in a positive direction there. Basketball, they're just gonna start practicing here in the next week or so, and so you know what? It's time. Let's talk football. And what better opportunity than right now? Welcome to the Rocky Top Rundown. My name is Alec. With me is Logan. And Logan, how are we feeling on this late Wednesday evening?
Uh, it was doing okay, but there was nothing on TV just to put on in the background while we're doing this.
Am I not
And
enough
so
for
I
you?
have so I have the banana ball game that happened at that disgraced Neyland Stadium on Saturday, and that's on my TV right now.
That's
So
fair. I mean, it
yeah,
calling it a disgrace, disgracing Nealon, whatever. You can take it or leave it. The issue with it was that it prevented your big recruiting weekend from getting to go inside Neyland Stadium, which just seems like a massive swing and a miss by whoever was planning both events, all pun intended.
no, I mean sure, but why mess up a beautiful game by combining it with TikTok? I don't understand it.
I'm sure there are people that hated the Harlem Globetrotters too.
Yeah, but it's not really the same.
Well, I mean, it's helping the next generation find a love
But,
for baseball.
but they're not finding a love for baseball. This isn't baseball.
Well, they don't claim for it to be. It's banana ball.
Exactly. They don't claim for it to be. You claimed for it to be
No,
by saying the next generation is falling in love with baseball.
they are falling in love with it is opening their eyes to the wonder of baseball, a wonder that I still don't fully get, and that's okay. So,
So what you're telling me is that in about 6 years, these 7 year olds, let's like these like 9 year olds are like, you know what? I'm gonna go play for my high school baseball team, and then all of a sudden, like third game of the year, this kid's gonna go in and all of a sudden just strike a random TikTok dance in the third inning. That's what you're telling me.
they're doing that anyways. So,
No, no, can't. No.
it's okay. It's okay. So Logan, let's talk about football. We don't we haven't taken the time since the birth of this podcast. We kind of jumped in mid-season at a terrible time after the Oklahoma game, and or it was Oklahoma weekend where we were trying this out and trying to see whether or not it would be something worth pursuing. But I thought it would be good, and we talked about this last night in preparation to take a moment and essentially give a baseline of where we see the program. Is it in a good spot? Is it in a bad spot? What do we think of Heupel as a coach? What he's done in his 5 years, and kind of where we stand with all the decisions that have been made that have brought us to this point. With where the program currently is. And so, before we go big picture with the entire program, let's start with the head honcho, the main man himself, Josh Heupel. Logan, since 2021, Tennessee has won way more games than they've lost. Only one, which I think 2021 was that a 6-6 season, or six
No,
and
they
seven,
went.
or 7-7? No,
No, no, no, no. They had a winning record.
yeah,
Um, they may have gone. I don't think they went 8-5, but it may have been 7-5,
I think
and then 7-6 after the bowl game.
yeah, 7-5 sounds right. Um, and so I'm looking it up, but oh well. But then 2022 is when they catch lightning in a bottle, go 10-2 in the regular season, and they finish 7-6 in 2021. Go 11-2 in 2023. Go 9-4 in 2022. Go 11-2. 2023 go 9-4. 2024 10-3 with a playoff berth. And then 2025 last year they go 8-5. So I don't know if you were tracking along there, but there's some peaks and valleys within this program since Josh Heupel took over, but significantly more wins than losses. And so, not to break it all down, but let's just start with Josh Heupel. He takes over in 2021, and things have been positive for the most part, record wise, since. And so, Logan, what do you think of what Josh Heupel? What would you give? What grade? What letter grade would you give him for his performance as Tennessee's head coach up to this point? Not anything looking ahead, strictly just what he's done so far and where he has the program currently positioned.
It's hard because 2022 accelerated the timeline and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's fair or not, it just kind of did. So, I mean, probably B, B plus.
You go B
I
plus.
mean, somewhere in there, B plus maybe. I mean, like, if we're critical of what's going on now and how this is kind of going, we also have to acknowledge the fact that, like, when he came into this in 2021, like, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And then I don't even remember what the number was, but I mean, the majority of your team left through the portal. I want to say you lost almost 40 guys through
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
portal.
say I think the number was 40 or close to 40.
So, like 35-ish, pushing 40. So, I mean, and this was really kind of before, like, that was right before the transfer portal era was really a
Yeah.
thing. Like, right, like, literally, his first year was when NIL happened.
Yeah.
Um, like, the summer going into his first year. So, like, that was the fact that they went 7-5 that year and then turned around and went 11-2 the next year, or 10-2 win. I mean, 10-2 and then 11-2 with the Orange Bowl win. Like, that was major impressive because you weren't in the, like, now rebuilds don't take as long.
Right.
Like, John Summerall at Florida is probably going to be really good in year 2 next year.
Yeah. Potentially even year one.
Um, so, but this was right, like I said, right before the transfer portal era, so it wasn't as easy to rebuild rosters.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think probably like a B plus ish. I think the last 18 months has kind of brought your grade down a little. That being said, and because of the situation you're in, like you really and you got kind of screwed last year with Nico leaving, but I mean Joey was fine. I really like you can say Nico leaving, like you made the best of that, and you're probably better on offense anyways.
Yeah.
So it was like you, I'm not going to use the quarterback thing as an excuse because he was more productive than Nico ever was,
Yeah.
and so like and and I keep hearing, and maybe I'm just missing something with how like all that's thrown off your plan at quarterback, and so that's kind of used as an excuse for this year. That still
Right.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like the original plan was Nico's gone after last year, and so you're in the same boat now,
Right.
where it's something's happened. And now you can look at it and say, well, Nico would be back this year with what his productivity's been. Well, I mean, if that's the case, it still hadn't really gone as planned.
Right.
Like your plan was for never have Nico here starting 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's like you'd still be in this boat anyway. So it's like it's a negative that you're in this situation on a year where your roster really should be pretty good.
Yeah.
That you're going to have a freshman quarterback one way or the other.
Yeah.
But that being said, you still have to give him credit for how he's rebuilt the roster. You don't know how these freshmen are going to play. They could have turned out to be really good. And like you said, we can't look forward in this grading, but to go to right this point, I think it is a plus, and so that's probably why I would say like a B plus because nobody was ever sure if he would make the moves he needed to make,
Right. To be
like
successful.
to be successful and make big boy decisions. And he got rid of his strength coach, and he got rid of his defensive coordinator, and he fired guys, and he's never done that before. He's never fired
Right.
people. People have left, but he's never fired people.
Right.
So, but he went out and saw what was wrong with his program and addressed it. And he knows that he's not really the disciplinarian type. I mean, obviously he has to be to a certain extent, but like he's not the one. He's more loose. He's chill. He's That's why he brought in Derek Owens. Derek
Right.
Owens, he's given full command control of. Like, there's not going to be. The plan was to not have another Boo Carter situation. That's looking like that's not. It's looking like that's just happened again. Slightly different, but still somewhat similar of a situation with Chaz Coleman right now. But
Right.
um, so like I think that improves his grade too. Is that he's gone out and made the necessary moves um, to hopefully take this program to the next step, and showed he was willing to like make hard decisions, which
Right.
you weren't really sure he was willing to make. So yeah, all that to say, I mean probably a B plus is what I would say. I think if you're talking about back to back double digit win seasons and maybe a second consecutive playoff appearance, you'd be in the A's for sure.
Right.
But like the fact that and in part of it was because your defense was so bad, but the fact that you went 10-2 with an anemic offense or passing game, we'll say, and then last year you were explosive. Of course, your defense can't stop anybody.
Right.
But now you're going into this year where your ceiling's probably 9-3 at best, and that's a ceiling that's going to be hard to hit. It's like so you're talking about double like back to back like 8-ish win seasons.
Yeah.
Like that's what I don't think you can be in A territory at that point when you're in year 6 going into year 7 after this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't disagree. I think that I would probably give Heupel. I think I would give him a B minus, somewhere between a B minus. And part of that is like I have full trust and faith um, in Heupel and where he's taking the team. I don't know that the Nico thing is a fair pass in the sense of I think even if Nico had stayed, you still missed on Nico. And Nico was not, and part of that is like, how is anyone gonna know? His ratings were so high. He's just this super athlete, things like that. So at the time, it made sense that he was this highly touted recruit. And you look back, and that recruiting class has, in a lot of ways, not met its expectation. I mean, Arch was number one. He hasn't really been much yet. That's probably going to change this year. But Heupel has been successful with different quarterbacks, but I think that there have been some misses with recruiting, not just with on the field, but also off the field. Nico's one example. Boo Carter's another. It seems like the Chaz Coleman situation is something that no one could have predicted being this way. If when you read between the lines of what's being talked about, like I don't know that you would go up to a kid and say, "Hey, are you struggling mentally?" before offering them a contract, an NIL contract. And it seems like that's, kind of what's happened there.
Yeah, but stuff's come up today. He's posting on his Instagram and posting stories, and he's just got wads of cash spread out and posing for his camera and all that stuff. So now people
Uh,
are like, "What's really going on here?"
right. Well, that's fun. I didn't know that. So breaking news for me. But still, I think that there are those things when you look at Heupel and what he's done with this roster, or what he's done with the program, his I think that's one of those things where it's like, hey man, you now have potentially three of these players that are taking a large sum of your NIL, that are that are supposed to be integral parts. Your quarterback, your starting star on uh, your starting nickelback your starting star in Boo last year, and then potentially the number, what everyone thought was a top 10 player in the portal, and Chaz Coleman. Like there are those things where I'm like, all right, like this has got to get shored up. I don't know if that is bringing personalities in like Derek Owings to be a little rougher to some guys in processes, because like I know that if like my wife and I were to meet the same person, I'm probably going to be a little bit more critical of that person than my wife is. And it seems like Heupel seems to be on that golden retriever type of the part of personalities than maybe being more critical at times. And I think that has hurt the program in spots. And so I think that it's one of those things where that, along with things like the penalties that just rack up and kill the teams, to not being able to consistently win on the road in big environments. Like, yes, you won against Oklahoma at Oklahoma, but that was a 6-6 Oklahoma team that you ended up just taking the air out of the ball. Nico hit one shot, hit one post route across the middle, and then from there you didn't really pass the ball again. Now, part of that was your offensive line wasn't blocking, and you were just
I
doing what
was
was
about to say your two
best.
tackles got hurt. Yeah.
Correct. But still, it's one of those things where you have not gone into a major environment on the road outside of Death Valley in 2022, but that was Death Valley at 11 o'clock. And that game, you took the air out of that stadium quickly because you got the fumble on the kickoff and immediately jumped on them and things like that. But there isn't a road game where you can point to and go, that was a hostile environment and this team was good enough to win, and just lost. So I think that there are those things where I think Heupel will get those things figured out as he brings in the Derek Owings, brings in, made the moves that he did, bringing in a new defensive coordinator and things like that. And even to the Chaz Coleman point, the defensive staff that's coming in from Penn State wanted Chaz Coleman. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not totally fair to put Chaz Coleman solely on Heupel, but I mean
Mm-hmm.
that all of that was, it was a joint effort to bring him in. And I think that that's where Jim Knowles and his staff, they were part of that. So, but then also to that, like you said, Heupel fired Banks. And I mean, did so quickly. Gave Banks 1 year to figure it out, or not even a full year. Like, he just was like, "Man, this is too much. We got to make a change." Got rid of his strength coach that he's had since UCF, and you're talking about a relationship with a guy that's 7, 8, maybe even 9 years long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how long that strength coach was at UCF, and that's not something that Heupel is. I mean, it was either them or him, so it's a lot easier in that situation. But I think that overall, where the program is a B minus. You missed not putting in McIntyre in more games. Like, that was also a miss last year. Like, how come you were not getting your team prepared well enough to get McIntyre in to get some more meaningful reps, rather than like what he passed the ball like 12, 13 times last season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that for all those things, I think Heupel has ultimately done incredible things. But Heupel now has had enough turnover where he's got his guys in the program, and he's continuing to get his guys. And I like the makeup of the team. He's got competitors. He's got guys that are willing to go fight. They are also showing that they're willing to spend to go get what they need. Like getting David Sanders, that was a big block to get. Faison Brandon, number one player in that class, you got him in. You go and get TK Keys, things like that. Like the Heupel has what he needs to win, and I think I'm just interested to see if he can get the mental part of the game figured out for him and his team both. And I didn't mention this yet, but penalties, but also clock management. It's the other part that Heupel's got to give up, or either give that up or get out of offensive play calling altogether. Which that's a conversation we had at the end of last football season. But overall, I think I'd give him a B minus, mostly just because I think that some of the issues that have kept this team from being successful in the regular season. I think of 2022 South Carolina, which they were cheating, which you won't ever convince me otherwise that they weren't given signals from Michigan.
Mhm.
But Missouri in 2023, Arkansas in 2024. Last year, I think, if I remember correctly, every
Well,
loss.
Missouri 2023 is kind of tough because Missouri was ranked about the same spot you were in the
Right.
SEC Player of the Year. Like that one's kind of me.
Yeah, but it was also you were in a position to win. Your offense went from being effective enough to win, and even Florida that year. Like you should have beaten Florida that year, but Kamal Hadden doesn't wrap
That
up,
you should have.
and you
That's what you
screw
should
up
have
in the
done.
swamp. And so like the Florida and Missouri were both games that you just peed down your leg in a night environment, late afternoon for Missouri, but night environment in the swamp, and just weren't ready. And so I think that those are things where that goes back to Heupel as head coach. When you're the leader, you catch all the blame, whether that's fair or not. And so, is Kamal Hadden not wrapping up against Florida Heupel's fault? Directly, no. Indirectly, yes, because you
Well,
allowed that type of tackling to exist in your program.
well, I don't take. I'll be honest with you. Anytime there's negative stuff with Tennessee, Florida, in the swamp, like the only blame that's like it's Tennessee in the swamp.
Yeah,
They've won like 3 times in 60 years,
right.
and one of those times was this year. So it's like it's you could literally go in with the Tennessee All Star team,
Yeah,
and I'm still not sure I would pick Tennessee to win that game.
but to that, Heupel has a winning record or has a 500 or better record against all of your rivals minus Georgia.
Yeah,
So, he hasn't lost to Kentucky. His first loss came
yeah.
to Vanderbilt's best team they've ever had. First loss to Vanderbilt came this year against their best team that they've ever had against a banged up Tennessee roster. I
Hmm.
still don't think that excuses how bad you got beaten by Vanderbilt. They talked all the trash and then backed it up. But I think he's 3-2 against Florida, and then no,
Hmm.
3-3
Hmm.
against Florida. No,
Hmm.
three
Three
and
and
two.
two.
So and then 2-3 against Alabama. So
Correct.
that's he's gone home. He's won his home game against the rivals, and can't say that about any of the coaches since.
Homer,
Yeah, Fulmer. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think any of
pretty
them.
much.
So Heupel has the program in the best position it's been since Fulmer.
Oh, absolutely. No, 1,000%. And I mean, I will speak on like I have a hard time. Like, yes, you have to be better with penalties, but I will say with penalties, like they've got to clean it up some, but the type of game they play
Yeah,
lends itself to more penalties. So their penalties are
correct.
always going to be a little bit higher with
Yeah,
procedural things and things like that. But like, yeah, just some of the discipline and things like that has to get better. And then um, the clock management is I think is the biggest bugaboo
yeah,
of it all. Like that has to be better. There's so many times, like Alabama last year, it made no sense going forward on a fourth down. You needed 10 points or
yeah,
whatever it was. Like kick the field goal. You had, or maybe what were you down? Were you down 16 or 17 or something like that? Like you had to have the field goal
yeah.
at some point. So go ahead and take it on fourth down.
Right,
You have to have it at some point anyway. So you just go and take it. And he didn't do it. He went for it. They got stopped.
right.
Um, like some of the clock management, game management stuff, like it's got to be better. It just
Yeah,
does.
it does.
But but yeah, I don't. I mean, the I will never be convinced. I don't care. You could like show me how I don't how it would make it better or whatever else. Like I just refuse to believe that a guy can be considered like a top five play caller in the sport,
Yeah.
and then your team is better off with him not doing it. Like, I think
Right.
he has to do it.
Which and that's where I don't it's either he's going to stay in the weeds of making offensive being part of the offensive game plan and play calling and things like that throughout the game, or it's going to be someone else. Like you have a book that is making all the decisions, but even then, a book, a notebook can't tell you if when to call a timeout. Like Mississippi State, the management of the clock in that final drive against Mississippi State is what sent you to overtime. You didn't give
Yeah,
yourself the opportunity to have enough time to get done
that
what
and
you
a
needed.
that and a wasted punt return. It took like 12 seconds to get 4 yards because he ran from one
Correct.
side of the field to the other. But
Correct.
yes, I mean, you're not wrong. And I mean, like, I don't even have a problem with like you have a guy, an assigned guy
Yeah.
that's kind of right there with you in your ear. That's better than him giving up play calling duties. 1,000%.
And that's fine. It's just someone, and if that's the route that they want to go, I think that's fine. I am with you. Like Heupel is one of the best offensive minds in the country, and it's hard to say, hey, don't do what you're best at anymore. So it's I think there's also yeah. I mean, I agree with all of that. And so I think the other part of with where Heupel has the program is just the fact that Aguilar is probably the most complete quarterback he's had. And look what the offense is. And even then, Aguilar had issues. Like he would just throw the ball up. Like he just let that thing fly. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was probably the most complete quarterback.
well, who would you say was more complete? Because I mean, like was Hendon good? Yes, but like I
Yeah,
guess Joe was.
no. Hendon Hooker was definitely more complete than Joey Aguilar.
I guess so. I think if Joey had Hendon's height, he would probably be an NFL quarterback. Just based on like I just think Joey's a little undersized to go to the NFL.
Yeah, but
But
I mean, Hendon had similar arm strength.
I guess that's fair. I think
It was good accurately. So yeah, no, I would think. I mean, and Hendon moved better than Joey did.
right. Well, that's true too. And so the point I'm trying to make is that Heupel has yet to have just an elite quarterback in this Tennessee system, and part of that is on him and his staff for how they've recruited and who they went after. But also part of it is just how things have crumbled. And I think that it's going to be very interesting in this next season to see what does it look like when you've got a guy that is a I mean, they were both 5 stars at one point. So I'm just going to, you got two 5 star, former 5 star quarterbacks in your quarterback room right now. Yes, they're both freshmen, but what is he going to do with that? And I think that you're in a position to potentially be really successful or fall flat on your face, which is why I don't think it adds anything to his grade.
Well, I mean, I guess my question for you is two things. Is number one, what do you consider an elite quarterback? Like what do you mean? And number two, I mean, yeah, he's got two 5 stars in the room, but he also had a 5 star in the room 2 years ago. That
True,
was rated higher than both these guys.
true, but the difference with Nico and these guys is that these two guys in Faison and McIntyre have played football their entire life, whereas Nico was just an incredible athlete. He was a volleyball player that turned football quarterback. So I think that's a big difference there.
Sure.
Nico's 5 star status was based strictly on his potential, not not strictly. He did a lot on the field, but it was a lot about what he could be with the tools that he had. And when I say elite quarterback, like elite college quarterback, I think of the guys that have gotten a legitimate shot to play on Sundays in the NFL. And Joe Milton's probably the closest to that, and that's just because he has incredible arm talent. And so I think that Faison and McIntyre both have an opportunity, depending on how their careers go, to potentially be in the NFL one day. It's so hard to
Mm.
tell because they're 3 years away from that. It's just how do they develop? How does the game come to them? Things like that. So much of it happens between the ears. So I think that's what I mean when I say elite college quarterback, because I think Hendon was fine at Virginia Tech. Joe couldn't start at Michigan. Joey was at App State, moving to UCLA just to get some time playing for a team closer to home. Heupel was able to take all of those guys that were okay at best at their previous stops, which Joey was really good at App State. We didn't get to see him at like a Power Four level before coming to Tennessee, but I think it's a credit to Heupel that he's had the success on offense that he's had with quarterbacks with different uh, issues that the experts would say are there. It's really hard to nitpick Hendon Hooker's game when the offense was as good as it was, but there was clearly something that coming out of high school everyone saw because he was like a 3-star coming out of high school, if I remember correctly. And then Virginia Tech didn't want him. He also had the heart issue, so there's that. So asterisks on that. But I think that's what I'm trying to say, where Hypo's been successful with what other people would consider average quarterbacks that he's made really good. Like I think Joe doesn't get enough credit for what he did in this offense because the run game has this is, follow me here. With Joe Milton at quarterback, I don't know that the run game will ever be as good as it was with Joe because, yes, technically they were screen passes, but they might as well have been running plays when they ran the wide receiver bubble screens because of how fast Joe could get the ball out there before defenders could even react. So I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think we just differ on what we would consider an elite level college quarterback. Because I mean, you're talking about a guy that I mean his last year, Hendon Hooker would have been considered for me an elite level college quarterback. I mean, he should have been in the Heisman race.
Yeah.
He put up Heisman like numbers. Like,
But does Hendon do that if he's not in Tennessee's system?
well, I mean, I think maybe not, but you're talking about a fresh start in a new place
Yeah. No, I'm
and development. Because I mean, because Joe Burrow was average at Ohio State and then left.
right.
Like he couldn't win a job at Ohio State. Like I don't think.
Which he lost the job in Ohio State to another NFL quarterback in Justin Fields.
Sure, but like he still wasn't like. But who's better, Joe Burrow or Justin Fields? Who would you consider now better?
Oh, definitely Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so it's like because I mean I don't think elite college players in general, but like specifically elite college quarterbacks, I don't necessarily think that them playing on Sundays dictates if they're elite level quarterbacks. Because I mean Tim Tebow was an elite college quarterback.
I guess
He had
that's
no
true.
business playing on Sundays. Like Brady Quinn, elite level college quarterback, never been Johnny Manziel.
No, I mean he could have played on Sundays. He just kind of fumbled that one.
So, but I mean, like I just don't. Yeah, I mean, I think. I think that I would say that Hendon was that year was an elite. I mean, he was one of the best, like 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the country that year.
Right. But the offense as a whole was elite. And again,
Yeah,
that's not to. I'm not trying to take away from Hendon, and we can move on. I'm saying that the point it was not a slight at the quarterbacks that have been at Tennessee, more so speaking to what Heupel has done with the phrase of one man's trash is another man's treasure. I mean, like I said, Virginia Tech, Michigan, they didn't want them. They didn't want Hooker and Milton, and Heupel turned them into great quarterbacks. And Hendon had an elite year in 2022. And Nico is whatever. Like I don't know that Nico could have ever turned into anything. Like I think you're right. You got the best deal out of that whole situation last year by getting Joey, because I'm not confident that Nico was going to make the offense potent for last year's team. And so, it's Heupel said it like he's won with all different types of quarterbacks. He said it before, and it's been true at Tennessee. So But if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. And if you think I'm an idiot, because there are some sports takes that I have that get that reaction sometimes, typically in the Jordan and LeBron conversations. But appreciate you listening. Please like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast, whether that is on a podcast streaming service or on YouTube and you're watching there. We really appreciate you joining us. We are doing our best to crank this out pretty late at night due to our personal life schedules. So just part of it. But Logan, let's quickly just look at the program as a whole. I think that, not I think, we'll just go with kind of the big three coordinators: offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and then your strength and conditioning program. And I don't say that just because there were two moves in those positions, but I just think that that's kind of, you've got your two coaches of the two sides of the ball, and then you have your coach for the off season. And so, you got Jim Knowles at defensive coordinator. You've got, oh my goodness, I just blanked on his name. Joey Halsley as your offensive coordinator, and then Derek Owings at your strength and conditioning. And I think that it's worth noting you have major parts of the staff of the last two national championship teams on your coaching staff now. And I think that's definitely worth noting. And so, Logan, program as a whole, where things stand, what grade are you giving the job of everyone? Or I guess maybe not, grading's not good because I feel like it'd be the same as what we graded
Yes, it
Heupel.
would be.
But
Correct.
how do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you heading into the swamp on a Saturday, you before the team heads into the swamp on a Saturday night, so not confident at all,
That's a bad example.
to 10 being Tennessee, well, not you with anything with Tennessee, the opposite of you with a Tennessee sporting event. So very, very confident. What are your, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not confident at all, 10 being very confident, how confident are you in the state of the program with the leaders that we have leading, Heupel, Halsley, Knowles, and Owings?
Probably a 6 or a 7. Um, um, yeah, probably a 6 or 7. I definitely think it's like more positive than negative. It's an upward trajectory, even though I'm kind of negative about this football season because I don't love that you're in the situation you're in going into year 6. But I'm also the same guy that drove through the night in 2019 to watch them lose to Georgia State, and then the next week I drove all the way back to watch them blow a game against BYU.
Right.
I've I've driven all the way to watch them let Quinn Dormady play and Georgia go in there and beat them 47-0, 49-0, whatever it was, the worst loss in stadium history. So I know where we've been. So I don't want to take where we're at now for granted either. It's definitely an upward trajectory. I think it would be ignorant of us to sit here and say, yeah, I'm a 9 or a 10. No, you're a 9 or a 10 if you're Georgia right now.
Right.
And you're like, I'm reloading every year and I'm in the playoff. Around that 6.5, 7, kind of in that ballpark, because of how well they've rebuilt the roster, the fact that they can go out there every Saturday and they can compete, like they can go win any game they play.
100%.
Because they're not just completely overmatched.
Yeah.
From a talent perspective.
Yeah.
Like you've gotten to that point. So,
yeah.
Is it 100% where you want it to be? No, not at all. But it'd be ignorant of me to say, oh, I'm like a 3.
Right.
It's kind of a negative trajectory.
Yeah.
That's stupid. Like that's just wanting to be a Debbie Downer for the sake of being a Debbie Downer. Like
there's a lot of Tennessee fans that way.
Yeah, there's more positive than negative.
Yeah.
Do I think there's a realistic shot that Heupel's going into 2027 on the hot seat? I 1,000% think that. I'm not saying he will be. I'm not saying he should be. But I think there's a realistic shot that in 2027 he's going in on the hot seat.
Potentially.
But I don't think he is right now. If you just get like good play from the quarterback position, you're an 8-ish win team,
Yeah.
a 7 or 8 win team. So it's like, um, yeah, I think 6.5, 7, still feeling pretty good about it, even though there's some negative aspects to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with where things currently sit with staff and recruiting and transfer portal and all of that, I think as a whole with the state of Tennessee football, I'm at a I think I would say I'm at a 7.5. Probably not teetering into an 8, but I think that the moves that were made, you've got it's Jim Knowles is has a proven track record to be one of the best defensive minds in the sport right now, and his implementation of his how he wants his defense to run is being fast tracked by the fact that he brought in a bunch of coaches and players. He's not having to he has a player at every level being able to speak to those rooms and go, this is what Knowles expects, this is how we need to do it, things like that. But also you have coaches. So he's not having to teach coaches and
Mm-hmm.
players at the same time. And so, this defense could be a top 50 defense heading into this year. I'm
Yeah.
not. I feel pretty confident in that. I don't think they'd be any better than that, just given the offenses that they'll go up against. But like you said, you're in a position where you can get good. If you can get good play from the quarterback position, no, not high turnovers, somewhere around 200, 250 yards a game passing, maybe a little bit of rushing yards from your quarterback, you're going to be in a spot where you can win a lot of games. You can win every game on the schedule. You can position yourself to win every game in the schedule. And so I'm grateful that that's where they are, because there was points last year where it's like this defense can't stop a nosebleed. And,
Mm-hmm.
you got Tim Banks dropping everyone in coverage regardless of what's going on. And so I think that adding Owings, I think is going. You already hear the talk about accountability from players. You heard that coming out of the winter workouts when he came in and met with every player and set expectations, things like that. Like I think that you've got a guy running your literally molding your program in such a scientific way and in a way that's proven. Am I interested to see if Tennessee has the same level of durability as Indiana? Yes, but I think there's also
Mm-hmm.
like Indiana runs their program wildly different. Kirk Signetti, how he does his stuff is a little unorthodox. Like they're a big talking point for them was that their practices were all under 2 hours during the season, or uh, always under right at or under 2 hours. But then during the season, I think he said they averaged an hour and 47 minutes. They didn't hit a ton, and so it allowed for rest and recovery and things like that, which goes kind of against what a lot of people would normally do in those situations. And so, I also think with where recruiting and the transfer portal is and their approach to it, like right now, you know, you hop on Twitter or X and message boards, people are freaking out over the fact that Tennessee is barely in the top 30, if they are, in current recruiting class rankings for the 2027 class.
Neither's
And
Georgia, neither's Alabama. Like,
right, but people are
it's fine.
freaking out now. Does Texas
Yeah.
A&M have? I think they have five stars on their committed to them right now. Yes. Is that wild? Yes. But also, Texas A&M's in a different spot than Tennessee is. Tennessee's not in a spot where they need to go get a bunch of freshmen because they've done that the last 2 years, and then they've retained a good bit of them. And Tennessee's retention plan as a program, I very much appreciate. You've let guys walk like a Lance Hurd who wanted $3 million to be your tackle but wouldn't move to the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, cool. We're just going to go get another version of you from
Yeah.
LSU.
No, thank you.
Yeah. And we'll be fine. Same with the corner that I just blanked. I didn't realize he was at Texas A&M.
Ricky Gibson.
Yeah, Ricky Gibson. Like you were bringing in guys that you felt better about. And Ricky Gibson wanted a crap ton of money, didn't play at all. So, there are those types of things where, they took their shot at all of the different quarterbacks in the portal. You took your shot at Sam Levitt, who still hasn't practiced. Like they may end up being right on all of this
Mm-hmm.
for this past cycle, and so it's one of those things where I'll be interested to see, like, does my number go down a little bit if they don't get Dylan Gabriel George's? Maybe.
Hmm.
That seems like one you need to get. But overall, I think with where the program is heading, I think that outside of your offensive line coach, I think you've got some of the most underrated assistant coaches in the country. I look at the defensive staff. I think a lot of those guys are good. You know, um, you got the best defensive line coach in Rodney Garner, or one of the best in Rodney Garner, and you go through all the different assistants, and you're in a good spot there. You've got the most underrated wide receiver coach in the country, in my opinion, in Kelsey Pope. You know, it takes a lot to get three receivers over 800 yards. Now, part of that's good quarterback play, but still, they were getting separation. They were catching the ball. They weren't, things that we hadn't seen in receivers in the past. So, offensive line, that's the one where I'm like, hey, can we at least get someone to help in the passing game? If we have to have him for the running game, can we have someone for the passing
Hmm.
game? Because that's where we seem to struggle. But I digress there. So I think overall the programs is in my confidence is, set. I would say 7.5.
Sure.
And yeah, I think this upcoming season is going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's starting to feel a little bit. Of course, it's hot, but in some ways, it's starting to feel like footballish season.
Yeah,
So, and no matter how positive or negative I am about a season, it's like the best time of the year. So
100%.
I'm starting to get riled up for it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's going to be interesting. We will start predictions and all of that, some point closer to the season because, you know, I think, I don't know about you, Logan, but I think my prediction, how many games I think Tennessee is going to win, is a little dependent on who the starting quarterback is.
Yeah.
I think it's a difference of one game, but I think we can dive into all of that at a different time.
Hmm.
Quarterback battle is still raging on, and it doesn't. There is no indication from anywhere who actually has the lead. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where the team goes this year, and could I think there's still potential for a really special season. Am I saying playoff? No, but I think that there is potential for some really memorable games this upcoming season. So
Special's a strong word for not a team that's not in the playoff, but we'll see.
yeah, but when your expectation for a lot of people is 7-5 or 6-6, and I think that's just a lot of people bracing for worst case scenario. You know, I don't know. There's things that I got to look up before we really get into it. Like South Carolina's one where if Beamer's still coach, I feel a lot different. But is he still going to be the head coach at that point? And it's pretty late in the season. So, has Kiffin knocked himself out of playoff contention by the time LSU comes to Knoxville? That changes the landscape of that game. Is
Mm.
Jared Curtis any good? Changes how you look at the Vanderbilt game. So there's all these variables in Tennessee's schedule, and then there's the variable of Tennessee's team. So I think it's just going to be a very interesting season. So Logan, anything else you wanna hit before we wrap? It's late.
Well, I think I'm good.
Time to hop off and go to bed. So appreciate y'all for listening. We will catch you next time. See ya.